What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we got the big reveal for Modern Warfare 4, much bigger than I expected. I thought today was going to be like a teaser and confirmation of the name Modern Warfare 4, but no, we actually got a bunch of multiplayer details, a full campaign trailer, and in today's video, I'm going to be focusing on the multiplayer elements. Now, I do want to be clear, I haven't played the game yet. I know a handful of content creators got flown out to Infinity Ward last week and got to play the game early. I was not on that list. And then also there was a behind the scenes briefing where I'm sure they got to see a lot of extra information and stuff. And I was actually meant to attend that briefing, signed the NDA and everything for it. But apparently there were some communication issues because the invite never actually made it to my inbox. So I'm actually reacting to all of this as it comes out from all of the other content creators. And with that in mind, let's dive into it. Keeping in mind, this video is going to be very heavily focused on the multiplayer side of things and everything we've learned about that so far. And let's start it off with the information from their official blog post before getting into more of the details from content creators that they were able to share. And the first big change that's coming is actually to the gunplay itself. They are removing bloom, and that means hipfire bloom as well. So when hip firing, your shots are no longer going to be randomized within a cone. They're not going to be spreading out as you continue firing as well or as you're moving. Your shots will go where your crosshair is aiming, even when in hip fire. And I've got to say, I'm a little bit skeptical about this, and I think rightfully so, just because it is such a big change and it's something we haven't seen before in Call of Duty. Obviously, this is something I'm going to have to get my hands on to really get a feel for before sharing my full opinions on it, but my initial reaction is this sounds strange for sure, being able to apparently move and slide and jump and everything while hip firing with perfect accuracy. My immediate thought is that doesn't really sound beneficial to the overall gameplay experience. And also, what does that do when it comes to weapon builds and stuff? That takes an entire element of weapon balancing away, unless they're replacing it with something else. Like perhaps there's more recoil or something when hip firing, and then you could use attachments to cut down on that. Either way, that is a very big change that's coming with Modern Warfare 4. Next, they mentioned recoil convergence and weapon handling have been rebuilt to more directly reflect player input. That's pretty vague, so again, that's something where I feel like you have to feel it for yourself to really understand that, or at least they have to show it off with some real footage there. They also mentioned depth of field and visual effects have been refined to improve enemy visibility without sacrificing authenticity. Again, something we need to actually see for ourselves. And they also said weapons respond more naturally to player movement, stance changes, and the environment, creating a more consistent behavior in every engagement. So that sounds like a lot of animation work that has been done. And all that stuff sounds good on paper at least, but we really just need to see it for ourselves. After that, let's talk about movement a little bit. They said that Modern Warfare 4's movement is built around fluidity, control, and player freedom, delivering fast, grounded combat that keeps operators responsive through every engagement while expanding how players move, fight, and adapt across the environment. And they also say the refined movement is designed to support a wide range of playstyles. And according to Modern Warzone, who has played Modern Warfare 4, he says the mantling system might be the fastest in franchise history. You can absolutely fly through the map with it compared to previous games. Also, they've expanded our movement options for mantling, climbing, hanging, and jumping to create new opportunities. So wall hanging is coming back, and they're actually expanding on that a little bit. It is also confirmed, just in case you were curious, Omni movement is not returning for Modern Warfare 4, and I'm really not surprised to see that at all. And then expanding on this a little bit more, Charlie Intel, who has also played the game, mentioned that the movement in Modern Warfare 4 feels like Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 combined. It does not feel like Modern Warfare 2 at all, and I think that was a big concern from a lot of people, myself included. I just feel like they added too many penalties for certain movements in Modern Warfare 2, and it made certain actions feel unnecessarily clunky, and it also felt like you had to jump shot constantly if you wanted to be really consistently effective as an aggressive player. So I'm glad to see them leaning more in the direction of Modern Warfare 3 as well as Modern Warfare 2019 when it comes to the movement itself. Then after that, let's talk maps, and they have confirmed there will be 12 core maps at launch, so 6v6 maps, there will be 12 at launch, which I've got to say that's a little bit disappointing. It's not the worst we've seen in COD history for launch maps, but it's also not really a number to get excited about, at least in my eyes. Of course, it's always going to come up quality over quantity, but why not both? They've been working on the game for a long time. Personally, the number that I tend to be happy with at launch for 6v6 is about 14 maps. If they've got 14 6v6 maps, then I'm good. I'm content. I'm happy with that number. 12 does seem a little on the low side. But they did also confirm there will be dedicated gunfight maps, so gunfight is returning, and there will be multiple big war maps built for large-scale vehicle combat. So it looks like ground war is also going to be returning, hopefully without the redeploy choppers. In my eyes, that has ruined ground war, and it's the biggest reason that ground war just hasn't been the same since Modern Warfare 2019. And then another big thing when it comes to maps is something brand new called Kill Block. And with this, it's a map that takes place in a training facility, but it's not just a map. They describe it as a dynamic multiplayer battleground where between every round, the map changes and reconfigures itself, and there are up to 500 distinct configurations of this map, and you'll never know which one you're going to get when the round changes. And I think that's a very unique and innovative idea. I really like the idea of this, but at the same time, I really don't think I'm going to play it all that much, because a big part of Call of Duty that I enjoy is learning the maps and mastering the maps, rather than playing more reactionary and just trying to figure it out as I go. So it's obviously going to come down to preference. I know a lot of people prefer that more reactionary style where it's not about mastering every detail, but more so how you can adapt to the unknown. So that's why I still think it's a great idea, even if I probably won't be getting too into that experience. Now after that, let's talk progression and customization. With this, the first thing they've said is they've redesigned Create a Class to unify operators, weapons, equipment, and kill streaks into a single loadout. So this confirms that your kill streak setup is going to be tied to each individual loadout. So you'll have different kill streak setups per loadout. And that's something we haven't seen in Call of Duty for quite some time. And I know a lot of people have been asking for that, and we'll be happy to see it. Then when it comes to Gunsmith, they did confirm Gunsmith is coming back with deeper customization options while remaining approachable for all players. They also mentioned that attachments will now be shared by weapon class for streamlined build creation. And there's a new system coming called Gunny. And with this, it's just a system that will quickly assemble effective builds automatically based on your preferred playstyle and your unlocked attachments. So you can basically just say you want a close, mid, or long-range weapon build for that gun, and it will automatically create a setup that's tailored for that, considering the attachments that you already have unlocked. And then, of course, you can swap and refine from there, but it at least gives you a starting point to build from. And then another thing they've mentioned when it comes to attachments is something new called Apex attachments. And these are specialized unlocks earned by fully progressing a weapon, and it will give unique modifications that can significantly change how a weapon behaves in combat. And from the sounds of this, it basically sounds like the prestige attachment system in Black Ops 7, but perhaps there's just no weapon prestige and you just unlock these when you hit max level on a weapon. Although with this, we ended up getting a little more details after I recorded it, so I thought I'd squeeze it in here. According to Charlie Intel, this attachment doesn't take up one of your gunsmith slots, so it's a free attachment you can put on your gun apparently. And he gave a couple examples. With the 1911 pistol, you can get an underbarrel shotgun. That sounds very strange for a pistol. And then with the M4, it changes it to an SMG style, whereas a sniper gets a throwing knife equipped underbarrel. So it looks like, at least in some of these cases, they're going with some very unique attachments on these. And it is interesting that you'll be able to put them on the gun for free. And then they also confirmed that player prestige is coming back. However, they're changing it a little bit. And there's actually going to be two different prestige paths that you can choose from. There's the classic prestige and regular prestige. So with classic prestige, it's what we're used to. Once you reach your max level for your character, you can enter traditional prestige. It will relock create a class. You have to re-unlock everything as you go through the levels again for that prestige. And you can just keep repeating that process. And they do mention you'll get increased XP earn rates and access to exclusive prestige rewards if you do this. Whereas for those that don't like resetting everything, they can enter regular prestige, which allows progression to restart from level 1, but it doesn't lock any of your create a class content. So you can still continue leveling your character up, but you're not going through that process of relocking. And they did say it will have its own set of prestige rewards and progression milestones. And I definitely want to see more information when it comes to this. I don't mind the idea of this because I know a lot of people really don't like resetting themselves, and then they feel limited, like they're not really progressing if they just sit at level 55 or whatever the max level is for the entire game's life cycle because they don't want to reset themselves. So this is providing them that option to still see their number ticking up without having to relock everything. However, my big hope with this is that we do see some tangible, like cosmetic rewards or something that really separates the people that go through the classic prestige versus the regular prestige. Since the people going through the classic prestige are sacrificing more and setting themselves back and going through more of a challenge to go through the process, and therefore I think there should be some reward to that, but not like a gameplay altering reward, just a cosmetic reward of some sort, or perhaps a different way of displaying their level or just something. I hope there is some easy way to differentiate, like, okay, this guy has made it to Prestige 10 by resetting himself 10 times versus this other guy made it to Prestige 10 without having to reset anything. If they don't have that clear visible separation between the two, then I do feel like that kind of waters down the whole idea of prestige. And those are the main points that they covered when it comes to multiplayer specifically in the blog. But as I said, a bunch of content creators were actually able to share more information and some of their impressions as well, which normally for those first play sessions, we're not allowed to talk about our impressions of the game at all. So definitely different this time around. And I just wanted to go through some bullet points that Modern Warzone shared. One big thing is red dots will be on the minimap, so it is a classic minimap. They're not sticking to their guns on this one with their new style of minimap that doesn't show red dots if you fire an unsuppressed weapon. With that, I am curious to see how they balance suppressors. I definitely wouldn't be opposed to suppressors having more downsides to them in order to compensate for that and the fact that we have Gunsmith. I have no issue with that, but I'm happy to see that red dots will be returning on the minimap by default. Next, I was very pleasantly surprised to see from Modern Warzone that the Ninja perk is coming to the game. I really didn't think that was going to happen within an Infinity Ward COD, but Ninja is coming as a perk. Obviously, alongside that, I hope footstep volume is just balanced appropriately to the point where you don't feel like you need to use Ninja, at least in respawn game modes, so it doesn't become a complete crutch perk. But I'm happy it's at least going to be an option in the game, so that way if they do overtune footsteps and they're way too loud, at least we do have that crutch option available to counteract that, and we haven't had that available in the past 2 Infinity Ward games outside of field upgrades. In addition to that, they mentioned map voting will return, theater mode's going to be returning as well, and that's something we don't normally see in Infinity Ward CODs lately. And we also got some mention of matchmaking, which I was surprised to see this early on as well. They did mention that Modern Warfare 4's skill-based matchmaking will not revert directly back to pre-Black Ops 7, aka strict SBMM, and they said they'll be transparent about matchmaking before launch and are currently analyzing all of the data from Black Ops 7's open matchmaking system. So this doesn't necessarily confirm we'll be seeing the same matchmaking that we see in Black Ops 7, but at the very least, it's not going to be the same old matchmaking system we've been used to since Modern Warfare 2019 up until Black Ops 7, which sounds great to me. I'm also very curious to know what they do with disbanding lobbies, if they're going to be persistent or at least semi-persistent. For me, that has been so refreshing in Black Ops 7 to have persistent lobbies, and I really hope that's here to stay for Modern Warfare 4 as well. But I didn't see any information regarding persistent lobbies at this stage, at least. Next up, random bit of information. The Riot Shield's returning, but in a different way. It turns out they're going to be bringing it as a field upgrade, and it will be destructible. So I think that is a fair compromise, at least on paper. When I first saw that the Riot Shield was returning, I was like, oh, really? We got to deal with that again? But then seeing it as a field upgrade, and you can destroy it, that does seem like a more reasonable balance when it comes to that. So curious to see how that plays out. Next, one big question that was up in the air, because one of the big bits of feedback from Modern Warfare 2 was that there was too much visual recoil and smoke when firing guns. And a few different creators touched on this. One was Swag. He was asked how the guns feel. He said, like Modern Warfare 2, but no smoke or crazy recoil. Hard to explain. Then Kashav from Charlie Intel, when talking about gunplay, he also said there were some issues with visibility and muzzle smoke, but overall, yeah, let's see if they stick to landing at launch. So it does seem like this is something to definitely keep an eye on to see what it ends up looking like as we approach launch or the beta. Again, this is something where until we actually see some first-person gameplay, especially multiplayer first-person gameplay, since that often looks a bit different than campaign, we won't really know exactly where they're going to land on that. And with that, it seems like new information just keeps coming out as I continue recording this video, so I think that's a good place to leave this one. I will, of course, continue my coverage of this as more information comes out. They did mention in the blog to expect a more extensive look at all aspects of Modern Warfare 4's multiplayer in the days ahead, so coming up quite soon. So hopefully we'll see even just some brief clips of some actual first-person multiplayer gameplay. I doubt we'll be seeing like full matches or anything at this stage, but I'd really like to see some of these new things in action or some of these changes in action, some of the movement systems, for instance. Overall, though, just looking at the bullet points of everything that has come out so far, a lot of this is sounding very promising, and I was honestly surprised to see many of these things, especially like a ninja perk coming, for instance, and then addressing matchmaking. I wasn't really expecting that out of Infinity Ward, so sounds promising, but at the same time, we're in very early days. There are still a ton of questions up in the air, and of course, while individual bullet points themselves might sound interesting, it really doesn't speak to how the game is actually going to play and flow, how the spawns work, how the maps are laid out, everything like that. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered, but they seem to be off to a good start so far, at least in my opinion. But of course, I do want to hear what you guys think about everything we've learned so far in those comments down below. Now that we've got some details, especially details regarding multiplayer, are you leaning more in the positive or negative direction regarding this? Or are there any specific points you're really happy about or unhappy about that we've seen so far? Please just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.